Hey everybody, Jake Perez here with Onward, my weekly show dedicated to helping ordinary people live extraordinary lives. You can catch me right here live every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Central Time, as I speak with some of the world's most interesting people about a variety of topics, all dedicated to helping you change your life forever. My guest on the show tonight is Russ Ward. Russ is an entrepreneur, owner of Premium Performance Marketing, LLC, known as the Lead King. He has generated over 20,000 leads in real estate, mortgage, solar, and life insurance niches. Russ has an inspirational story of redemption and is passionate about helping others make massive comebacks. Russ Ward, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, Jake. Really happy to be on the show. Thanks for having me on so I can tell my story, man.
Absolutely, man. I've been wanting to have you on for a good while, and I've kind of, I guess, known you for a few years here on the internet and whatnot, and really I kind of watched the whole story, man, from the sidelines, and saw when you were just a burgeoning marketer, and I saw when the Lead King was born, and most people online these days would know you as Russ Ward, the Lead King, right?
That's right. Yeah. Most people know me. Like there's some guys like you who have kind of just been my friend from the beginning and kind of followed the process. But there's a lot of people that know me from groups I post in, and they know me as the Lead King, and they see the content I put out and stuff. So tonight I look a little different. I don't got the Lead King hat on. I got a hoodie on, but I'm just trying to be chill tonight.
Right. Gotcha, man. Well, so we got Russ Ward, and though we want to talk a little bit about the Lead King tonight, and really that's kind of why you're here. I'd like to start with the Lead King just a little bit, and then back up and kind of talk about how you got there. Let me just kind of preface a little bit, and maybe you can fill in some of the gaps. So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm actually a realtor. I've been a realtor for about 5 years. I'm also a history teacher, done that for about 18 years. But the biggest problem that realtors have is really getting enough clients, right? And you need leads to get clients, and it's a big market getting leads for clients. And Russ has become one of the premier experts on the planet at being able to get leads for realtors, right? I mean, whether it's realtors or solar or insurance people, whatever it is, right? Russ is definitely an expert in this lead generation game. But he wasn't always that way, right? I mean, Russ, you're kind of at the top of the game right now. There's this thing in the digital marketing world that everyone talks about, getting to $10,000 a month, right? That seems to be this huge benchmark that everyone's trying to get to. And you got there, but you got there kind of I guess it's been a couple of years at least, right? You want to just kind of start with that story of how you developed as the Lead King, and we'll work backwards from there.
Sure. So generating leads at all, I got started out because part of this whole long story, I ended up working for Tesla when they were Solar City. So I was doing solar sales, and they paid us such chump change, man. We had to stand in Home Depot stores, sign up people for appointments to come into their house and show them solar. And then if they did buy, we got paid $15 per panel. So anybody who sells solar knows how ridiculously low price that is. Now, the deal Solar City had was if we generated our own leads somehow outside of Home Depot, then they would pay us $45 a panel, which was, I was desperate for money at the time. I mean, my car was about to be repossessed. I needed all the money I could get. So I just started throwing some stuff out there. I started making some posts on Facebook groups. I started making some stuff in Messenger, in Marketplace, and it was just because it was free. I didn't have any money. So I started bringing in a ton of leads, man, and I started closing deals, and I became the top sales rep at Solar City pretty quickly. But that fell off as well. I'll tell you about that. But that's how I got started in lead generation to begin with, and I was like, wow, if I could do this for me, I can do this for other people. So along the way, I ended up getting a real estate license, and I started generating some real estate leads, and I started realizing, I'm pretty good at this stuff. So the very first thing I ever did was I made a little course. Who was I? I was a brand new guy. I was one of those typical marketer idiots who was a neophyte making a course. And I was selling the course for $300. And
Right,
for
right,
$300, I was setting up their ads and giving them a course so they could do it again in the future. And
right.
I actually made my first $10,000, like you talked about. It only took me 62 days to do it because I was doing $300 courses, and then I was doing, a little stuff here and there. And I was just, like I said, I was so desperate for money that I was just taking all the business I get. I was working around the clock. People were driving me nuts. But what really led to that was, it was May of 2018, and it was my daughter's birthday, and I had $80 left, and I had to literally pick between food and gas for the car or taking my daughter out for her birthday and taking her to lunch and buying her a present. So I picked the present and the lunch. Had no idea how I was going to make the money for the gas and all the other crap I had to pay for. And I swore to God to myself that day, this will never happen again. And that's when I put my head down, and I made my first $10,000 in 62 days. And then ever since then, I've never made less than a month than that. So,
I love it.
Yeah, it was honestly, man, I was the least likely to succeed. So if anybody stops listening or pulls anything out of this thing that we're talking about tonight, is that if I could do that, anybody could, because my mindset was so screwed up. I had no idea what I was doing really, and yet I still found a way to do it. So if I could do that, least likely to succeed, then anybody could really do it.
I love it, man. And that's kind of where I picked up the story, right? Was those first couple of months when you kind of became the lead king and you just kind of put your head down and you started really grinding, and, you started making those early courses and offering, to sell courses relatively cheap in the marketing world. So I kind of been watching the story ever since then. And you're truly one of those success stories. There are a lot of people who have that dream in the digital marketing world. They want to run a social media marketing agency, and they want to work from home, and all that kind of stuff. And you're one of the ones who really made it work, right? So that's kind of how you're here on the show, and how we kind of hooked up. I mean, you are a success story, right? I mean, there's tons of young marketers out there that if they could be exactly where you are right now, they would absolutely do it. But I want to kind of go back a little bit and talk about what happened before that. And you kind of told me that story. And you're living in Florida right now. I think that's an important part of the story. Is that right?
Yeah, I actually am in Florida. And, that kind of ties it all together. I moved down here about a year ago. Once my whole life completely imploded, I call it the complete nuking of my life. I was like, I just got to leave this place. Pretty much every bad thing that ever happened in my life happened in Pittsburgh. I had a really bad childhood. My dad left when I was a little kid. My mom was not really the greatest mom. It was just chaos. It was not happy. It was a grind. It was tough. And, I know that, lots of people have tough childhoods. And so I'm not trying to use that as an excuse for anything that happened in my life, but it was a tough life growing up. So I had that. And then the first thing I did when I turned 18 was I moved away as fast as I could. And I swore to God I'd never come back. And then eventually I did come back, like everybody does in Pittsburgh. And it just seems to be a city where everybody comes back. But I had so much bad stuff happen in that city from the time I was a child to the time I was an adult. Most of it was self-destruction. But once it came to the point where I was going to start over, I was like, I need a new fresh start. And I picked Tampa. I picked Florida because I like it here. It has a good vibe here. I had some friends here. I had some business here, and it was just a brand new fresh start in a place with the sun, place with the water. I love it. I'm a Navy veteran, and I love the water. I love everything about it. So that's how I ended up here in Florida.
Sure. So I remember picking up the story, and you were in Pittsburgh, and it was, of course it's cold up there, and I know you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. We talked about that a little bit before the show, and but it wasn't just like you packed up, and part of what I'm alluding to is it wasn't just like you just packed up one day and went to Florida, right? I mean, you're a big believer in living with intention and manifesting things. Is that right? I mean, tell me, we'll back up from there, but there was a story about you. Didn't you drive a convertible or some car that you wanted from Pittsburgh down to Florida? Tell me that story a little bit, because that I think is going to get us a little bit more into your backstory, what I think is very interesting.
So I didn't really know much about manifestation, about vibrational frequencies, about law of attraction, any of that stuff. I kind of heard about it. I thought it was silly, stupid, because, you see that video that Oprah came out with, and it's like, I always thought, you think about something hard enough and someone drops a car in your driveway. I was like, that's dumb, right? So I went through this phase for a while where I was lonely. I was a broken person. I was dating tons of women. I don't mean to say that in a way like I'm a pimp and gigolo, but I seriously, and I was in therapy for this for a while too. I had this thing, it goes all the way back to my mother and abandonment issues. I was looking for attention specifically from women who would at least pretend to love me, right? So yeah, and that was a big part of the destruction because I didn't work when I did that. I focused a lot on that. But anyway, along the way, I met somebody who I didn't really hit it off with. I didn't really like her. She didn't really like me, but we had this affinity. And it ends up we became very good friends. We were in very similar spots in life, and we were both learning about law of attraction at the same time. And it just kind of was a perfect collision. So meeting this person, we never really dated. We just kind of like hung out and just talked about this stuff. It sounds like really weird, but it wasn't. So we started learning about this together. And along the way, I thought, you know what? And this gets back to the ultimate low point where I was literally on the floor with a gun to my head at one point, and I just felt like life couldn't get any worse. And I got up and I said, you know what? I'm going to just do one last internet search. And I was typing into Google, how do I make myself want to live? I mean, that was exactly what I typed. And I came up on a YouTube video that talked about how you can manifest anything you want, right? So I started watching this and started getting into these vibrational frequency videos, and my God, it worked. I started doing self-talk. I made a vision board. I just started thinking positive thoughts. And that was the very beginning of where everything happened for me. So as time went along, I came down to Florida here for a visit. I visited this friend. She had actually moved to Florida. She became an artist. And along the way, I was like, what the hell? I'll upgrade and rent this car. And I drove this car down the coast, down to Venice to hang out with her. I was like, man, I love this car. I would love to have this car. And it was a 2019 black Mustang convertible. It even had these cool little lasers that come off the side with the Mustang logo on the ground. I mean, it was awesome. It was just the coolest car ever to me. So I was like, I'm going to have this car. And I also decided on that trip, I'm going to move to Florida. So about 4 months later, I actually moved to Florida. Everything that was happening bad in my life was wrapped up. And then 8 months later, to almost to the day, I bought the same exact car. And it's really weird how that happened. So I was still recovering my credit and everything because I had a bankruptcy when basically everything hit the fan. One day I got a letter in the mail from Capital One that says, you're pre-approved. And I was like, whatever. I'd usually throw that out. But I was like, let's just see what they have to offer. And I looked at their approved dealerships, and one of them had the same exact car that I rented. So I went and took a look at it. They didn't ask for any down payment. They didn't ask you to give me any crap. They were just like, here you go. It's all ready. And it was like the lowest price I found it at. And I literally was in and out of this dealership and drove away in that exact car in less than an hour. And I was just like, oh my God, this stuff works. I mean, that was nothing more than me thinking about it on a very consistent basis and meditating on wanting that car. And I know wanting a car is very superficial. We want to have world peace and all that stuff. But I mean, sometimes along the way, you got to get physical stuff that proves to you that it works. And
I mean, a car can seem superficial unless you don't have a car to drive, right? Then it's a big problem. Right. It's a really big problem. And, you already shared I think you had a car repossessed before this time. Is that correct?
I think I had 4 cars repossessed.
Okay. All right. So four cars repossessed, the home foreclosed, bankruptcy. I mean, your finances are just in shambles at this point, right?
Yeah, they were. And so just to back up even a bit more to explain why I also had a $119,000 tax lien hanging over my head.
Sure. Yeah. Let's talk about that.
So back when I was in the Navy, I was selling bootleg DVDs. I was selling, I'm a huge football fan. So I bought a collection of every Super Bowl ever made on DVD. Just had it delivered. I just wanted to watch it. Right.
Right.
I was like, hey, if they can make these, I can make these. So I set up this big operation. I had burners, and I ended up getting sued by the NFL for $10 million for doing that. But
always the hustler.
Not to be deterred, I was like, all right, I'll stop selling the Super Bowl DVDs, and I started selling Seinfeld, all these bootleg DVDs, and I was making tons of money, and my lifestyle was amazing, and it was great until it caught up with me that I hadn't filed taxes on that. So the IRS hit me with a $119,000 tax lien. And by this time I was broke. So I'm trying to tell them, look, you can't collect this on me. There's no way I can pay it. Right. And they're like, so I finally went to an attorney and I was like, look, how do I deal with this? Because I'm never going to get out from under this ever. You can't bankrupt this stuff. Right. And he was like, look, I can probably settle this, like those commercials say, but I have a fee as well. So one of the cars was about to get repossessed. I took this car and I rear-ended it, just bashed it into a brick garage, smashed in the back, got a check for $8,000, gave that to the attorney, said, here, take this for your fee and settle with the IRS with this money. And that's what he did. So we ended up settling for his fee and the IRS for about $8,000, and that went away. So crazy story.
Wow. Okay. So, all right. So the NFL, I mean, I'm a huge sports fan. I know a lot of sports fans, but you actually were into it so much. The NFL, I don't know too many people that the NFL has come after them for $10 million, huh?
Yeah, and well, I'll tell you what, my saving grace was I was originally selling these DVDs on eBay, and one of the people that was buying them kept on buying the same one over and over, Super Bowl 20, the Bears versus the Patriots. And so I finally contacted the guy and I said, hey, do you just want a bulk order? And it ended up he was one of the Bears owners, Tim McCaskey. Rest his soul, he passed away this past year. And so we ended up getting on the phone. He gave me his home number. He invited me to Soldier Field. And I was like, look, I can't do any of this, but I'll tell you what, can you give me a Brian Urlacher helmet? And I'll just trade. And so, the day Brian Urlacher signed his contract extension, he actually got a jersey signed by Urlacher, sent that to me along with a check. And this is where it saved my butt. A check for, I don't know, like $300. And so when they came after me, I said, oh, I didn't know. I played stupid, right? I was like, one of your owners from the NFL actually said it was okay. He wrote me a check and bought some of these from me. And they were like, okay. So I signed basically a stack this big of forms that said I'd never sell their stuff again. And that was it. They settled with me. But it was crazy how that happened, man.
Wow. Okay. So, so that, big sports fan, I mean, that wasn't the first time you were making money in association with sports, right? With football merchandise. I mean, you were involved with some baseball at one point, baseball betting or something like that.
I was. So I was a Steelers season ticket holder. And what I did was in Pittsburgh, the waiting list was so long, you had to have a seat license, and they were expensive. So I had a seat license for 2 seats. I sold those for $20,000, and that was my seed money. And what I did was I met a guy who was a mathematician from MIT. He could predict when baseball teams would win about 80% of the time. So I took my $20,000, I flew to Vegas 52 times, and I bet on baseball and basically lived in the Planet Hollywood Hotel for like 2-3 weeks at a time. And I had some really high highs. I had days where I'd make like $15,000. And then, like we were talking about earlier, like when I promised myself that I would stop forever if I ever lost the seed money, and I lost $20,000 in one day. I got very greedy. Should have only bet like, I think my maximum that day was like $6,000, but I bet 20. And then the pitcher that was pitching for me, he got into a fight and got thrown out of the game, and that was it. It was over. I lost.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Man, that's crazy stuff, dude. So
I know, right?
I mean, you've been through it, man. And so a lot of highs, a lot of lows. You've made a lot of money. You've lost a lot of money. Let's, before we come all the way present with some of the Lee King stuff, let's talk a little bit more about some of those lows, right? I mean, you had some highs, you had some lows, but when you got to that lowest point, you talked about, in the intro, we talked about, you were actually suicidal at one point. Is that right?
I was. I mean, I literally got to the point where, and I didn't bring this up before, but I do want to make a point of it. Digital marketing for a lot of people is a goal, right? It's something they want to accomplish. I want to start an agency. I want to work $10,000 a month. That wasn't what I was trying to do. At the time, I was throwing every Hail Mary pass I could throw up at the air. I was throwing crap against the wall, see what would stick. So I was working a job where I was selling flooring, and I was doing okay at it because I started learning these manifestation techniques. Like I would literally meditate and sell a lot of deals after that. I would do that. But I was doing so much stuff, and lead generation was the thing that happened to stick at the time. I happened to make money at it. I happened to like it, and I happened to be good at it. So, I was really in this phase where nothing was working. And I think a lot of people can relate to this. It felt like no matter what I did, I was in this elevator shaft, and I was like hitting it. And no matter what I did, I could not break through. I could work as hard as I could work, and I just couldn't get through. And I was like, look, my life is a mess. I have tax liens. I have foreclosure. My credit is wrecked. No one really gives a care about me in the world at this point. The only people I didn't want to really let down were my kids. I was like, if I could somehow kill myself in a way that the kids would think it was an accident, I would do it. And I probably would have. And I think, whatever higher power there is out there tested me on that one day, because at the time I was also wanting to not die, which was really weird. I had this deep passion. I just wanted out. I wanted the pain and the suffering to stop. Yet I was going to therapy every week to deal with some of these issues. I had a lot of really bad abandonment issues. I had a little bit of PTSD from my time in the military. And one day I was on the road to see my therapist, driving down the highway about 80 miles an hour, and traffic was stopped. I literally looked up and I was just like, I have a couple choices here. I can hit the brakes and I'm going to get hurt really bad. I'm going to hurt somebody else. I could floor it, guarantee I die. And that would manifest me, committing suicide. But at the last second, I swerved away and there was nothing on the side of the road. And I swerved right back onto the road and I was fine. And I was like, wow, I can't believe. And that was a choice I made within a split second. I could have chose to die because I would have. I mean, I was traveling so fast. I probably would have killed other people too, though. And that was probably part of the mindset as well, So that's how bad it was, though, man. I was just like, I was looking for opportunities to die. And it was because I really felt like at a certain age, I was in my latest, maybe 39 at the time, 40. And I was just like, I already prayed to God. I used to pray to God and say, God, please just kill me. Let me die in my bed so my kids find me and have good memories of me. And I was like, all right, God's not going to kill me. So I'm going to have to live with this suckiness of life for probably, another 50 years. So I had to find a way to try and tolerate living because I hated living so much. I mean, it was, if you've ever been depressed, like really depressed, you would relate to that. It's just like, please just let it end, and that's how I felt.
Wow. And that's, I really appreciate you sharing that with us because, we're talking a little bit of lead gen. We're talking about making money. We're talking about digital marketing, but that's just an avenue that you found that you said you were good at, kind of worked for you. I think there are a lot of people who are watching us here tonight or who may watch on the replay that whether they have dreams of making money on the internet or not, they know what it's like to be depressed. They know what it's like to hurt. They know what it's like to say, God, if you're real, take me, right? I don't want to wake up in the morning. I don't want to keep living through this pain. Just having to tolerate, just living another day, right? And that's kind of what this whole show is really all about, is trying to help people understand, there's a better way. You don't have to keep going through the pain and the suffering and the hurting. You want to share with our audience a little bit more about what you did? I mean, though I'm super impressed with your experience and what you've done, as a marketer and made lots of money as the lead king, I love the fact that you're able to kind of flip the switch and find a reason to live again. You want to share that process with us a little bit?
So I wouldn't say I flipped the switch. I would just say things started to come together and gave me hope. And I think anybody who's in a tough situation, that's the one thing that you want more than anything. You just want hope that it can be better, right? And there was a lot of times, and I'm sure a lot of people who've been in situations where they just didn't feel like they had any hope at all. And so one little glimmer of hope was all I really needed to say, all right, maybe this thing can turn around, And that really started when I started selling flooring for this company. I forget the name of it, but they offered $2,000 training bonus. And I was like, worst case, I get the $2,000 and I can pay some bills with that and not get thrown out on my butt. And who knows, maybe I'll be good at it. So I ended up being really good at it. I don't know why I was good at it. Maybe it was the affirmations I was doing, but it was just like, okay, I have a glimmer of hope here. Maybe this will lead to something better. And in the process, I had also, just got out of this horribly toxic relationship. I mean, we could do a whole show on this relationship. It was so insane. So insane.
Is that the one where there was a tattoo involved?
Yes.
Okay. So I know a little bit of that story.
So there was a tattoo, and then the tattoo got filled in, and then I tried to remove the tattoo, and then I finally covered it up. That's how crazy that was. But anyway, I got out of that relationship, not by choice, by the way. It was just over. We just fought too much. That was it. But I'll tell you what really helped me, and I know there's a stigma with getting help for depression and mental illness and things like that. I'll just be honest with you guys. I went to the VA hospital because I'm a veteran, and I said, look, I am messed up in the head. Please test me, figure out what's wrong with me. I don't care what it is. I don't care if you have to put me in the hospital. Make me better, right? And by this, I had no self-confidence. I had no self-esteem left. I had no shame. And I was just like, please just make it stop. Make the sucking stop. And, the VA, gets a bad rap for some of the ways that they've, treated veterans over the years, but they treated me and helped me so much. I mean, they assigned me a therapist that I saw weekly, and she literally walked me off that ledge so many times. So, I mean, if you're somebody that needs help, go get it, because you don't have to have insurance. If you're a veteran, you get it for free. If you're not a veteran, you can call hotlines. I mean, there's so many resources out there. And I'll tell you what, I didn't even buy into it for the first 6 months. I was like, this is dumb. I'm not doing this. And she was like, why do you keep coming back? I was like, I don't know. Just do it. If you need help, go get it. And that was really where it really started. I started with the therapy. I started cutting toxic people out of my life, sometimes not by choice, because I was also toxic. So they cut me out of their life as well. And that was where the real beginnings of this thing started. And to add on to that too, man, you got to be honest with yourself, right? When you're at your lowest, it's really easy to blame other people for how you got there. One of the things that, I don't know why I was able to do this, but I blamed myself for everything. And maybe that was part of the reason why I wanted to die too, was because I was like, man, I created this whole mess. And I think that's really helped me along the way, along this comeback, was I was able to just take full responsibility for everything, accept it. And then what that did was that gave me the power to change it. Because if I blamed Jake for doing this to me, then I couldn't control fixing it, because I can't control Jake. But if I blame Russ for doing it, I can control my actions. I can control my thoughts, so then I can fix it. And I think that was something that really helped me a lot along the way.
Man, I love that. I'm a huge believer in personal responsibility, and I've talked with people in the past and posted things online and said, basically your reality right now is a result of your thoughts. Your thoughts become your actions become your reality. And I've had people get mad at me about that, but it's actually something that frees us if you think about it, right? Whenever we switch we flip the switch and we no longer view ourselves as victims, but we say, I'm going to be responsible for myself, then we can start fixing things, right? Then to me, that's when we can empower ourselves. But at the same time, there can be some difficulty when you have to look in that mirror and start looking at who you are. And sometimes it goes way back, right, to our childhood. And to be honest, I haven't talked about this much at all on the show, but couple points. Talking about suicide, I actually lost my best friend in the world about 6 years ago to suicide. So I've been through that in a very, very personal way. And going back to other issues and abandonment issues and things like that, so many of us go through those things, and it's not very popular to get on Facebook. We want to get on social media and, show how much money we're making and, all the cars we're driving. And you were talking about earlier that, manifesting a car is only a small thing in the grand scheme of things, right? I mean, what you've said to me so far is you didn't have the will to live anymore, and then that changed, and you do. Not only do you have the will to live, or did you find the will to live again, but you now have a passion to help and share your story with other people to help them. I love that, man.
I absolutely do. And it didn't really start out so easy for me, because once I figured this out, for lack of a better term, I did actually actively go out and try to help other people who were suffering. One of the things that this is, I don't know if you'll relate to this or not, but when I was in my worst place, I really didn't think it was gonna get any better. And I used to listen to a lot of positive stuff. I'm a big fan of Tony Robbins. I'm a huge fan of Les Brown. Les Brown got me through some rough times. And one thing Tony Robbins said was that one of his life goals was to stop suffering wherever he found suffering. And I just really took that to heart. And so I went through a phase where I was like, I'm not going to stop suffering. Maybe if I helped other people stop suffering, I'll stop for a little while. And I remember one time I had 2 pieces of pizza in the car that I didn't know where else I was going to get food. I actually stopped my car, shared it with a homeless guy. We sat there and we had pizza together. And I felt like I stopped that homeless guy suffering for a moment, right? And I was just like, okay, this feels good. I like this. And we both stopped suffering for a moment. And I kind of made it a goal to help people stop suffering. Now, I wasn't too good at it at first. I was actually actively going out looking for projects like me to fix. And what I found is that if you're not ready to fix your situation, you're not going to relate. One story about this was the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. I was in Miami for 10X Growth Conference. It was the big thing I did since I had this big turnaround. And I met this guy. He was a Navy veteran as well. We hit it off. I actually skipped watching the Super Bowl because, and that's my big thing. If you know me, like, dude, you skip watching the Super Bowl. Of course.
Yeah.
I sat there and I helped him make a whole marketing plan. I didn't have that many courses at the time, but I gave them all to him. And I said, bro, I'm going to help you turn this thing around. He had this crazy story. Ends up 2 days later, he quit. He said it was too hard to do what I was asking him to do. And he blamed me for his failures. And I was so disheartened by that because I literally spent, 10, 12, 15 hours with this guy trying to help him turn his life around. And I was just like, and I just realized that he just wasn't ready yet. And I was at a spot at one time where I wasn't ready. So, people just are not going to change until they're ready. I didn't change until I was ready. And I don't know what that guy's done with his life since. And so what I'm trying to say here is that I have actively sought out people to help. And I come to find out that the only people I've actually been able to help is the people that have come to me and said, bro, I'm ready to get some help. Can you help me with this? And it doesn't always have to be in business. I've talked to a lot of people late at night and just kind of walk them off that ledge that they were on. It can be better. It can get better. And once you get that belief that things can change, that's the hope that you need,
I love that, man. And that's what it's all about. And again, money's important, things like that's important, but the desire to live, the desire to want to wake up every morning and you've kind of found that again, but not only found that again, but it's become your desire to help other people with that. And, I really love that. You want to talk a little bit more about the law of attraction, manifesting, because, I feel like that kind of played a big role in your story. And, you said it didn't happen overnight. It wasn't like flipping a switch, but it gradually began to change. So, what would you recommend? If someone is, someone looks at their circumstances, they look at their life, they look at their bills, they look at bad relationships, and they feel like they're hopeless. They feel like there's, they don't really have a reason that they can find that they want to keep going on. What would you recommend to that person?
So somebody that you might know, and that a lot of people watching probably do know, is Jesse Elder. Have you ever heard of Jesse Elder before?
I know Jesse very well, yeah.
So Jesse is one of the guys who really helped me along my manifestation journey, because Jesse's an excellent marketer in his own right. You should see some of the ads he runs. I'm targeted by him constantly, and I love the targeting. But the mindset that Jesse has is just, it's so positive, and it's just so on the right track all the time. So I got started in this by watching some YouTube videos, and I met that girl from the dating app, and her name's Connie, actually. She's actually one of my best friends. And if she ever sees this video, Connie, I love you. So at the time I didn't like you very much, and you didn't like me. But we were learning this at the same time. We were watching videos on this, and really what it came down to was repetition of positive thoughts over and over and over. And what I come to find out was that, I don't know where I heard this. It was in some self-help book I heard years ago, but it was repeated over and over, is that you literally become and get what you think about most of the time. So when I had this sales job, I just kept on thinking about myself and envisioning myself selling the deal, right? And I started listening to these positive affirmations that were like blah, 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 in the back of your headset, and I would listen to those on the way to sales calls, and it would subliminally talk me into making a sale. So that's where it started, right? And I just kept listening to positive stuff, and then I was never a really big believer in meditation. I'm still not that good at it. Jesse teaches to Jesse makes it really easy, by the way. If you guys want to learn about meditation, look up Jesse's free YouTube videos on it. He talks about how you just kind of sit there and do your thing for about 15 minutes, and your mind blanks out, and you're open to receiving information that you didn't receive before. And it helps so much. So a combination of basically just the will and desire to learn about this stuff. How does it work? And then I started getting real deep. I started watching like The Matrix. I started watching Inception.
Right.
But it's crazy how it all ties together. Like, it's crazy how your brain dominates literally everything around you. It controls things around you. It controls what's going on right here between you and I. We're not even anywhere close to each other yet. We have a frequency connection between our two brains because, we're connecting right now. So
100%. And someone's asking, is that Jesse Elder?
Yes, Jesse Elder.
Okay. I think he's out of Austin, Texas, right? That's right down
Yes.
the road, right down the road from me. I'm out in
Yep.
Houston. Um, I love that, and I love that you brought up meditation and visualization, and I'm on a path right now where I've talked a lot on the show, and personally, I guess the best word is experimenting. I'm practicing and experimenting with meditation every day, right? And learning how to clear my mind, and I'm even getting into energy centers and balancing energy. But I'm doing a lot of Dr. Joe Dispenza's work. I'm following a lot of his work, and he really just kind of teaches, I guess, to just put it in layman's terms, if you can conceive it in your mind and you can kind of go there in meditation, anything is possible.
Yep. Absolutely. I agree with that. And, to add on to the things we've already talked about, some people have heard of her, some people haven't. Abraham Hicks. Have you heard of
Mm.
Abraham Hicks?
Of course,
So
yeah.
Abraham Hicks has a very unique message. Now, the message is on point. The
Mhm.
channel of delivering that message, you may or may not be freaked out by it. I'm not going to get into it. Do a little research. However, I actually went to an Abraham Hicks event in person. I so wanted to feel that energy in the room, and it
Mhm.
was massive energy. And I'll tell you what, basically Abraham Hicks breaks it down so simple. It's just like, and this is going to sound way too easy until you actually experience it, but just be happy and stay happy, and good things will continue to happen. And one of the things that helped me so much was when I could literally feel myself going into a deeper state of sadness or depression or whatever's going on. I would play Staying Alive by the Bee Gees, and I would just start getting down like this. And no matter how sad I was, man, I was staying alive, right? And,
I
and
love it.
it would always put a smile on my face, and it
Mhm.
would raise my vibrational frequency, and I would be right back up where I needed to be. And and she breaks it down so simply: just get happy and stay happy, get happy and stay happy. But once you get it and you actually experience it, then you're like, oh my God, that's how it works. And literally that's how I achieve everything in life. I get happy and stay happy.
It sounds so simple, right? It sounds so simple, but I mean, I've read tons of books, as I know you have, about frequency and vibration, the law of attraction, the secret, all that stuff. But it just kind of boils down to whatever you are, you get more of, right?
Exactly. Yep. And I'll tell you what, when I was in that really low place, looking back, I know I was in that low place because I kept on thinking about being in that low place. And but the problem is when you're in that low place, you're like, well, what else am I going to think about? Right. And until you're ready to make that change, you won't stop actively thinking about other things.
It's so crazy, and it perpetuates on itself, right? Because when we feel like things are going bad, we don't like the way our day is going, we lament over it, we get down about it, and we start thinking, oh my gosh, I'm having a terrible day, and all we're doing is reinforcing the fact that more negative things should come our way.
Exactly. Yep.
And I love your suggestion. I love your suggestion about the fact that you just or kind of what you did. You just put on music, right? You just put on music, and it's like I'm staying alive, and I'm jamming to it,
Right.
and just having a good old time. And I was just talking yesterday about that, about the fact that when my vibration has been, and I learned so. I learned that when my vibration was low, I needed to raise my vibration, right? Because when I'm feeling down, I'm feeling depressed, I'm feeling low, like that's all the things that cause people to want to end their lives, right? They feel desperate, and they start making bad decisions, and it becomes this horrible self-fulfilling prophecy. And one of the things I've really used is I've super simple, just music, man,
Yep.
just music. And I love that you had a go-to song, right?
Exactly. Yep. And I'll tell you what, since then, I've actually learned that the song Three Little Birds by Bob Marley is actually
Mhm.
the perfect vibrational frequency song. The
Huh.
whatever hertz that is, musicians would know it better than me. Whatever the amount of hertz that is in that song, you can literally feel that song in your heart when you play it.
Mhm.
So I'm this person. I love to consume content. I love to consume knowledge and stuff. So sometimes I'll be sitting here and I'll be working and I'll be like, well, I'm going to listen to some course while I'm working. And I never get it, right? Because I'm focused on what I'm doing. However,
Mhm.
what I notice is if I listen to Bob Marley while I'm working, not only do I get it done better, but
Hmm.
it's done quicker. It's like almost like a magic pill when I listen to a Bob Marley playlist. It's really,
Huh.
you should try it out sometime. It's like, and I'm not even, I don't dislike Bob Marley. I love his music, but he
Right,
would be
right.
like top of the list who I'd pick if I was picking a playlist, you know. I'm more of a 90s rap Tupac kind of guy, but I don't get as much
I'm
done
right
with that.
there. I'm right there with you, man. I'm right there with you. Lil Wayne, Jeezy, all that stuff. I'm right there.
Exactly. Biggie.
Biggie, for sure. So Sharon's asking, she's on here with us. She's asking about Abraham Hicks. You said, could you tell us a little bit more about that and your experience? You said you actually went to Abraham Hicks conference.
I did, yeah. She had one. She had one in Fort Lauderdale, and I actually Connie, the girl I met on the dating app, who helped me with my journey. We went to it together, and it was a really cool experience. So basically, what you do at an Abraham Hicks event like that is everyone sits in the room, and then Abraham Hicks will just point at somebody and say, "I'm going to answer your question," and they'll ask like a philosophical some type of question. And if you'd like. I have the notes to that somewhere, and I could share it with everybody, and you could send it out with the notes because I got so much out of it, and I didn't even get called on. Now, for people that don't know Abraham Hicks, the way the message is delivered is that a extraterrestrial-ish kind of person, thing, something, indwells in Esther Hicks, a human female, and speaks through her. And she did have a husband named Jerry, but he died. And so basically the theory on this is that we're all energy, and when we pass away, we go back into the blob of energy that's out there. And I know, there's some religious people and they won't agree with that. That's fine. I don't even know what I believe at this point after everything I've learned, but I do believe that there's something out there that's greater than us. There is an energy, there's God, something like that. So anyway, Abraham Hicks literally teaches you, trains your mind. And if you listen to her videos on YouTube, there's tons and tons of them. You could type in any topic. You could type in relationships, and you could have an Abraham Hicks video talking about how to put yourself in the right frame of mind so you could manifest a relationship of a loving partner who loves you. And really, her advice to almost everything is to just envision and feel, envision and feel, envision and feel. So if you want to manifest a great relationship, you think about how you would feel, what you would be like in that relationship, and then you will attract a mirror image of that into your own life. And hopefully that would be the person that you want in a relationship in that particular context, right? And so I truly believe the reason why I got that Mustang was because I envisioned and felt that it felt like I owned that car. And then what's weird though was I didn't think about it for a while, and then one day the car showed up. So another thing Abraham says though is that it takes 15 seconds of thought to put the universe into effect of getting the stuff that you want. So while I was thinking about that car, as I was driving it, I probably drove it for 10 hours while I was renting it. I had 10 hours worth of, I love this car, I'd love to have this car, thought in my vortex. That's what Abraham calls it, vortex. And so what's happening is the world is conspiring on my behalf to deliver to me what I wanted. And I know this sounds absolutely insane and crazy, but it really happens. The stuff that you think is a coincidence is not a coincidence. It's either happening to further something that is supposed to happen for you or somebody else or the world in general. And that's what I've come to find out. And that's what I believe.
I'm totally with you, man. I am a Christian. I do believe in God, and I'm actually on a mission to educate a lot of people, I think, the church, the Christian world, on the fact that a lot of times people look at meditation, they think visualization, meditation, energy, all these things, and some people start thinking hocus pocus, kind of weird stuff. And you kind of preface that a little bit with Abraham Hicks, and some of the stories, it's a little far out there, right? But where I'm going to 100% agree with you is that, man, when we have intention about something, and we get a picture of what it is that we want, we understand exactly what we want, we're intentional about it, we envision it, and then we're deliberate in thinking about it, and let's couple that with elevated emotion, right? You're talking about feelings. Joe Dispenza talks a lot about visualizing what you want and coupling that with, what's it going to feel like when I have it? What's it going to feel like if I'm driving that sports car? What's it going to feel like when, hey, you just wake up in the morning and you actually want to live that day. You want to enjoy that day, right? Or you have a spouse or a relationship that you enjoy, that you want to be involved with, a healthy relationship, right? And it all has so much to do with Um, yes, deciding exactly what you want, and then coupling that with that elevated emotion.
Yep. And I'll tell you what, the people who are best at this are kids. So, quick story. My daughter, I started teaching her
Hmm.
very basics of law of attraction and manifestation.
Hmm.
So she really, really, really wanted a golden retriever puppy dog, a girl, and she wanted to name this puppy Daisy. She had thought about this and thought about this and thought about this. So when all these lockdowns happened and she couldn't see her friends and she couldn't go to school, finally we decided, you know what? Rather than get it for her birthday, we're gonna go ahead and get it for her now. We went to this dog breeder. They had one dog left. It was a female,
Hmm.
and we got that dog. We named it Daisy, and she goes, "Daddy, I knew I was going to get this dog because I kept on thinking about it. I kept on thinking about how she was the last one who was going to be left, and I knew I was going to get her and name her Daisy." Then, on top of that, the next day she was reading a book, and it was about a little girl who had a dog, a golden retriever named Daisy, that picked up the last puppy. It's just crazy. And then another thing, sometimes we'll just go out. She's 8 years old now. She's almost 9, and we'll just go hang out sometimes. And the other day, she was telling me, we were just talking about things we liked, and she's like, I really like Tesla cars. What 8-year-old says they likes Tesla cars? But she does, right?
Right,
And
right.
she goes, when I grow up, I want to have a white Tesla. We get back to my car to drive home, and there's a white Tesla parked right next to my car. And I don't believe this is a coincidence. I believe my daughter has the ability to do the same things I'm doing. And I think that she believes them with a blind, childlike faith. Like, how the church teaches us to pray in a childlike way when we go to God. He's, come to him and just with active expectation that he's going to deliver for us. I think the energy of the universe is like that too. If you come with an active expectation, it will deliver the things that you want because you don't have anything holding you back. She's like, I'll have a white Tesla. And look at that, a white Tesla shows up, right?
I
And
love it.
I think you and I, as adults, as grown-ups, we still have those seeds of doubt tugging us back, right? So that's probably what a lot of our problems are as grown-ups, is that, oh man, that couldn't happen for me. I couldn't really get that car.
Hmm.
I can't really succeed at this. And I think if we could cut that out in more of a childlike way, we could have more of the things we want.
I love it. Hey, let me just stop real quick. I want to come back to the childlike faith. I want to talk a little bit about that, but we've been hanging out for a little while. If you are hanging out with Russ Ward and I tonight, hit me with a hashtag live, and go ahead and hit me with this message that Russ is bringing out tonight. So it's a life-changing message, Russ. I really appreciate you sharing this, and I want to keep going, but if you guys can, hit the share button, hit the like button, hit the love. The more engagement we get, the more people are going to see this life-changing message. If you're watching on the replay, hit me with a replay, hashtag replay. If you're here with us now, hashtag live. Russ, I really appreciate everything you've shared and so far, and I want to talk a little bit more about that childlike faith, right? Because I think there's a real bridge, and I think sometimes people argue, right, between church and science and all that kind of stuff. And I really, it's just my personal belief that God created everything, and what science does is explains God, and that's fine if people want to argue about this or that or the other. I'm not here to argue with anybody about anything. I'm here to try and help people who are in a bad situation and help them understand, hey, you can change your life, right? You don't have to keep waking up and hating your life and praying that if there's a God, don't let me wake up tomorrow, right?
Absolutely.
So that idea, that childlike faith, and I love the fact that you shared about your daughter and the fact that she does have that childlike faith. And I've seen pictures of, and I know a little bit more about the backstory now, but I've seen pictures of the puppy, right? Your daughter's puppy online, and
Yep.
and even recently, I think you posted some pics with your daughter and the puppy and whatnot, and so that gives a lot of meaning to the backstory. Now that I understand that she's just like, hey, I believed, Dad taught me about the law of attraction. I know if I believe it and I want it, and that it's going to become my reality. Man, I love that. And you know what? There are a lot of self-help books that I've, whether we're talking about Hicks or we're talking about Dispenza or, even Jesse Elder, there are a lot of people who teach this stuff outside the context of religion, but within the church, it's really the same thing. And I'm trying to help people understand, look, if you jump off a building, a 10-story building, I don't care if you believe in gravity or not, you're falling down, man. It's not going to end up very well. You know, whether you believe in it or not, I don't care what you call it, the stuff works. And I think that's what I'm trying to do a lot on this show is help people understand that we're all more similar than we are different, right? And we all, you know, you talked about abandonment issues earlier and talking about the pain and the sorrow that you've been through. And I've experienced so much of that stuff in my life in my own way. And I feel like a lot of people watching us here tonight or will watch the replay have also gone through a lot of that pain and suffering as well. And I just think as human beings, we're all so much more alike than what we are different. And so I'm very encouraged that your story that you're sharing with us here tonight, I really hope and I really believe that people are going to hear your story. They're going to see your story and they're going to say, you know what? I'm going to give it another day. I'm not going to take those pills. I'm not going to pick up that gun. I'm not going to do that stupid thing. And if Russ did it, so can I. And I love what you're sharing tonight, man.
Let me just add to that, because I don't know if I made this clear enough last time. Guys, I was the absolute least likely to succeed. I promise you, if I can come back from what I went through, what I put myself into, you can come back from it. I put myself through 2 divorces. I put myself in financial ruins to the max. I put myself through physical torment, emotional torment. I mean, I don't even have the words for what I did to destroy my life. And if I could come back from that, anybody can. I truly believe that 99% of people have a better head start from where I was. And, you know, life isn't perfect. I still get down. You know, this whole lockdown has had a toll on all of us, man. I wake up some days and I'm like, really? Is it ever going to be normal again? And, but you can absolutely 10x your life. I know I'm using a Grant Cardone term here, but you can. I mean, just let me give you some context, right? At my worst, I had a house in foreclosure. I didn't do crap with it because I knew I was going to lose it. I had this piece of crap car that I paid like $300 for just so I could go to the ER if something bad happened. And now I live in Florida. I just moved into this awesome house like 6 months ago. I live in a community with like totally cool people. Everyone I meet is nice. They like me. And honestly, I brought it all to me because of my thought processes. This would not have happened if I didn't imagine this before it happened. We moved down here a year ago, and I lived in a little apartment. It was a very nice, luxury little apartment. But as soon as we got there, I started thinking, I want to live in one of those nice houses down the street. And almost to the day, moved into one of those nice houses down the street. And I want to stress, too, that this isn't all about financial gain, and it's not about my monetary possessions. These are just like ways I keep score because I'm a very competitive person. I was a football player. So right. I keep score with bank account balances and toys and stuff like that. But really, at the end of the day, this is about quality of life. This is about I actually want to get up and I enjoy my life and I want to do something. And it's just like, I'm sorry I don't really have the words to really put this into, but if I could get myself up off that floor, anybody watching this can do it. I mean, it's not going to be easy at first, and it takes repetition day after day, but you see a slight hint of something getting better, and then boom, okay, cool, I have some hope. And that's all you need is just a little bit of hope.
I love that, man. I really do. And I feel like there's so many people out there hurting in the world today, right? I mean, COVID has created a really strange world that we're living in. And I love the fact that, you know, we're continuing to kind of talk on this show, and you're really the epitome of everything that I want this show to be about, right? It's the fact that we have in our hands control over our own destiny, right? You know, we have control over our if we can think it, if we can visualize it, if we can see it in our minds, it can become our reality. So a message that I think we both would like to convey to people out there tonight, if you don't like where your life is, whether it's a relationship, whether it's money, you know, whether it's health, sickness, whatever it is that you're going through, it can change. And a lot of it changing just starts with believing that it can change, right? Getting a vision of exactly what you want. I know Joe Dispenza teaches, and I've been doing this, but I actually spent some time this morning writing out a long list of exactly what I wanted my life to look like, right? Health goals, personal goals, financial goals, every relationship goals, in every way that I wanted my life I want my life to look in a perfect, in a perfect world, the perfect Jake Perez. I wrote it all down. So Joe Dispenza teaches this. So on one side of the sheet of paper, like on the left, you write that down. On the right side, and this comes back to what you were talking about with Hicks, on the right side, you write down, what are you going to feel like? What are those elevated emotions going to feel like when you have those things, whatever it is? It's health. It's a certain amount of money. It's a certain type of relationship. It's whatever it is, right? And so what I'm practicing and learning, whether you're talking about prayer or you're talking about meditation, it's being super intentional. It's getting a picture of exactly what you want, right? Exactly what you want. And then coupling that with an elevated emotion and knowing exactly what it's going to feel like, right? And then see, we in the natural world, we tend to think, once I have something, I'm going to feel better, right? Once I get that job, once I make that 10K per month, once I lose that 30 pounds or whatever it is, then I'm going to feel better. But in reality, the law of attraction works totally opposite. We need to feel that elevated emotion first. We need to imagine it, we feel it, we embody it, and then we don't have to chase it anymore. Then we begin to attract it to ourselves. That's kind of what you were describing, I think, to our listeners tonight. Is that right?
Absolutely, man. And it's the hardest thing in the world, though, whenever you're suffering. When you're suffering, it's hard to believe that the suffering is going to stop, So you just have to force the issue. At some point, you have to force the issue. You have to say, I'm just going to have belief in this, and I'm going to do it. And worst case scenario is I end up where I am, but you won't. Because if you follow this process that Jake just outlined, you have to envision it. You have to feel it. You have to believe it, and you will get it. And you will start to see changes happening right away. And just to be clear on how this works, it doesn't work like one day, a car was dropped in your driveway, like we were talking about. Opportunities are going to present themselves. Maybe you get a phone call from a long lost friend that says, hey man, what's up? Just wanted to hear what's going on in your life. You get to talk in, they offer you an opportunity, and boom, and now you just have something manifest for you, right? Just like how I got the Mustang. I got a letter in the mail that says, hey, you might be qualified. If I didn't open that letter, I wouldn't have taken that opportunity. Along your process, you have to take the opportunities that are presented to you. You can't just hold up in your house and say, when it gets better, I'll leave. No, you have to leave the house at some point,
I love it. So, it does require some action, right? I mean, you've got to, and some of that action is just faith, right? I mean, you've got to envision what you want. You've got to believe that you're going to receive it, and then you got to get up and you got to move. I mean, I know enough about your story to know that you didn't just, sit, in lotus position in your bedroom for 2 months, and all of a sudden money showed up in your bank account, right? You believed it, you envisioned it, but you also worked your tail off to get there at the same time. Is that right?
Absolutely, man. I was once, and here's another thing too. Once you get a little taste of success, then you're off to the races, right? Once I realized, oh my God, I'm good at this. This works. I worked nonstop. So this wasn't just like I visualized this and it all happened. No, that's not how it worked. I just kept on innovating and working harder and working harder and working harder. And everything just kept coming to me. It was just like the Wayne Gretzky quote. I think he came up with it. It was the harder I worked, the luckier I got. And it was just harder work, more lucky, harder work. And I still remember that first summer that I had success. My little one, who I was just talking to you about, the golden retriever. Mm-hmm. All I wanted that summer was to not have her have a boring summer, because I knew if I didn't have any money, I knew if I was grumpy, I knew if I was in a bad place, she was just going to have to sit there and watch me be in that bad place. I just wanted to have some way to give her a good summer. And she said, Daddy, and this is the maturity level of her. I think she was 6 at the time, 5 maybe. I want to go to New York City and see the stuff. I want to see the Statue of Liberty. So that summer I took her, and I couldn't afford a flight. So we took a Greyhound bus up to New York City. Wow. Spent the whole weekend up there. I walked her little legs off. I had to carry her. She was so tired. And she still talks about that trip to this day. That was the first reward of all the hard work I was doing. Was I took my little girl for a weekend trip and I still have pictures of her in Central Park and pictures of us on a rowboat. Like these are memories that I'll have forever. And it was just like confirming that, bro, you did it. You did it. this is in every month I would pinch myself. Can I do this again? Can I do this again? And I still do it from time to time, because the last couple of months, I don't know if some of you people have been following me. I started doing a little bit of e-commerce, and I kind of ramped back my lead generation business a little bit. And because I did that, I was bringing in less income. Like I'm usually actively, getting more clients for my business and bringing in more money. But I ramped that back, and I had to spend money to make money in e-commerce, and I paid a coach and all this stuff. And I looked down at the end of the first month that I did that, and I had still brought in over $10,000 in agency income, because I had built that momentum up so much that it was like almost on autopilot at that point. And that can happen to you too. If you work hard enough and build a good enough reputation. And something else that you're going to notice about me too, and you should definitely do if you're going to be a digital marketer, never, ever, ever screw up your reputation. If you go to Google and type in Russ Ward scam, the Lead King scam, anything that you type in for bad things that people did, you will find nothing. Because even if I end on terms that aren't so happy with people, I always make it right with them. I never leave a bad taste in their mouth, even if I feel like I really want to. And your reputation is just so important. And so now I have a good reputation. I have a lot of people that, kind of like you, Jake, that we've known each other for a long time. Sure. I could reach out to you and say, hey, man, I hit a rough patch this month. Could you introduce me to somebody? And if you have a reputation like that, and you have a connection and a network and stuff, some of the best friends I've ever made in my life have been during this journey. Internet people I've never met in person. They've been the most supportive people. They've been my best friends,
It really is a great and supportive community. I've met a lot of great people, through this internet marketing world, and met you this way, and I consider you a good friend, and it is a great opportunity to to meet and share, and it's a great opportunity we have these days. So talk a little bit more about kind of the digital marketing side. I think that's there might be some people. Is there a way if people want to connect with you? I mean, are you teaching digital marketing? I mean, what are you doing with that? I mean, how can people reach out, and what can you help them with?
Yeah, so primarily what I'm doing right now is I'm teaching other marketers or aspiring marketers to do what I've done. Most people that are teaching what I'm teaching, they're teaching things that are really hard to get started with no money. So I'm really good at taking people from nothing, because that's what I had, and showing them how to get from nothing to their first $5,000, $10,000, and however far they want to go from there. And I've only worked with a few people one-on-one, and every one of them has got to $10,000 to $20,000 in a month just by following my advice. And I'm not saying that I know the best ways in the world to do everything. I just repeat the process that worked for me. Sure. So that's mainly what I'm doing right now. And the best way to look me up is to go to my website, theleadking.com, or just friend request me on Facebook, Russ Ward. And, you can see all the stuff that I offer there. I put out tons and tons and tons of free content. I mean, that's how I get almost all of my digital marketing clients. I give a lot of stuff away for free. People realize, oh, he knows what he's talking about. He didn't try to take from me right away. He's not the typical guy that's like, hey, man, and hits you up in your DMs. I never do that to anybody. And from there, people usually just come back and they're like, hey, what else do you offer? And that's how I pretty much get every single client I have. Other than like if it's a real estate agent or something, of course, I'll send them an email or a text message and say, hey, do you need leads? But I'm talking about the relationships I build with other marketers, because this is why I like it so much better than the actual agency side. Because number one, I've been there, so I can relate. Number two, I can see your progress going from somebody who doesn't have any belief to, oh my God, I can't believe I did this. And, number three, I've been through the process, so I can already accurately predict the results you're going to get if you just follow the blueprint that I have. It's really that simple.
Got it. So it's theleadking.com, right?
Yep.
Okay. So I just dropped that. If any of you want to reach out to Russ, you want to know more about becoming a digital marketer. There are a lot of people in America who absolutely hate what they're doing. They hate their jobs. Unfortunately, they don't want to wake up. They don't want to go to work, whatever it is. They don't have enough money. If you're interested in a different way to make money, Russ is great at teaching people that. So check him out. He's, I've known him for a long time. He's a great guy, and he really knows what he's doing. I love, Russ, the story you shared with us tonight. I love the fact that you had so many difficult things that you went through, and you just, it was almost, you're at rock bottom. You're almost at the end of it all, and you just fought back. I love that you found a way. You found a way through, visualization, manifestation, creating you learned how to create your own reality. I love that. And the reality that you've created is pretty amazing. Not only lots of money, but I know your family life's pretty solid. You're pretty happy. You're having a good life right now, and I love the fact that you went from that story that you told us to the Russ Ward that I know, who's a happy, successful, thriving human being on the planet Earth right now. I love that, man.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate that.
So if anyone wants to reach out to Russ, you want to know more about what he's doing, hit him up at theleadking.com. Any of you out there feeling, frustrated, you don't know if things are going to change or things can change for you, please consider Russ Ward's story that he shared with us tonight. As he said in his own words, if he could do it, you can do it too, and anyone can. So we love you guys. I appreciate everybody out there watching tonight. Russ, I really appreciate you hanging out, man. We've known each other for a while. It's great to hang out here on the show. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you too, brother. Hey, real quick before we go, I also have a podcast called the Lead King Podcast. And about the first 6 episodes of it talks about this whole story in detail. So if you want to hear the nitty gritty details of all the crazy stuff I did along the way, it's entertaining and it's also inspiring. Check out the Lead King podcast, because I'm telling you what, you will be like, oh my God, dude.
I love it. I love it. We'll drop a link to the Lead King podcast as well. If you're not following Russ Ward, whether you want to be in digital marketing or not, the guy's a super great guy, super interesting. Check out his podcast, follow his stuff. It's been fun, man. I appreciate you, my brother. It's been a lot of fun hanging out with you. Absolutely. Good night, everybody. Y'all take care. Thanks for watching Onward live with Jake Perez and our special guest tonight, Russ Ward. Y'all take care. Good night.
Good night.